trade would have been good.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that pans out. The
Yeah.
trade that wasn't good yesterday was the one I took in this show, and I can't actually when I look at it, I can't actually believe I took the trade because I never take that trade. And the trade I took, I was trading straight into the high of the day. And as I said, it's a trade I never take. Here was the setup here. I can't draw on this, can I? But we traded this candle here,
Yeah.
and we were trading long.
Yeah.
And I thought this was the high of the day because I don't have any delineation on my chart.
Oh, I see.
But this was the high of the day.
Right.
So, yeah, I broke a cardinal rule of mine.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
that I was aware of it, but I broke a cardinal rule. And that's
Yeah.
why it's a cardinal rule. I
Yeah.
never, ever trade into the high of the day. And for that reason, I paid the price. Look,
Yeah.
to be fair, there was ample opportunity to get out of this for reasonably cheap because price just didn't go anywhere after it took us in pretty much. And if you'd seen that candle, it was probably time to get out anyway. But there was plenty of time to get out of this for less than, I think it was only less than 0.25% anyway, the risk that we took. So yeah, that was a bad start to yesterday. We're making up for it a little bit today. We sent out a trade call earlier this morning on pound yen.
Oh, well done.
And pound yen has, this is a 4-hour chart. Pound yen has broken short.
Nice.
And this was exactly what I called you guys to look for yesterday. Not so much on pound yen, but on the pound. And the pound didn't give me the opportunity, so I went straight to pound yen. And what I was looking for was a higher low, which has now come on pound yen. Oh, sorry, on the pound.
Oh, yeah,
Sorry,
that's a nice chart, mate.
A lower high, not a higher low, a lower high. So just like this is the daily chart, the 4-hour chart. The 4-hour chart worked this way.
No, hold on.
Give me.
Can you go back to is that the daily? No, that's the 4-hour.
Daily. This is the 4-hour now.
What's the daily again?
Okay.
Oh, hold on. That's the dollar. The pound dollar. Oh, yes. Sorry. So we weren't looking at the pound yen.
Yeah, we were, but I was looking to take this trade on pound dollar.
Yep.
And it didn't set up properly, so I went to pound yen instead.
Yeah.
That was the candle that I was presented, and I couldn't trade that. Then we got this one, which I could have traded, but it was trading straight into pivots and support rather, so it wasn't a good trade to take. So I switched to pound yen, and with pound yen, I got a couple of opportunities to get into this. I'm in a bit late, to be fair. There were 3 opportunities. I could have traded that candle there, it being the lower high that I was looking for.
Yeah.
And a reversal bar. But I actually don't like to trade that candle because it's preceded by an indecisive bar and indeed a low test bar. So it's not a great candle to trade. But when I saw this one, I traded that straight away and got the pullback. Could have traded that. And Ash, you'll be pleased to know, where's today's daily pivot on pound yen, mate?
148.62, is it?
148.62, is it?
Something like that.
Would that be about there somewhere? What do you see, Ash?
Oh, it's the double cross.
It's the double cross.
Oh, nice.
So there we go again. I've got my stops at entry on this one. I've taken half off the table at TP1, and so can only win on this. That's a good one. Look, I'm hopeful that this can go a long way, to be fair. And I've been sprawking this one all week, as you know, with the 3 black crows that I just can't ignore. And and when I get the opportunity to trade it back here, then more than happy to do so. I just hope that I've got my stop in the right place here. I could have given it latitude, I suppose, but if it is going to reverse and reverse hard, then it shouldn't matter where the stops are, to be fair. it should just go. If it doesn't, and the reversal isn't on, then it's going to go long anyway. So I think I'm right where I am. I'll bank no matter what happens. So I've already banked. So
Nice,
so that one's
mate.
all good.
Nice. Nice.
So
I love a bit of pound yen.
The classic reversal, that one.
Yeah.
And
yep. So we got the basically the double cross is that particular pattern, but it's got to be around that daily pivot, isn't it?
Daily pivot or weekly pivot's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. But there it is again, and it's produced another winner.
How often do you see that double cross come up?
Oh, very, very often.
All right.
Maybe 2 or 3 times a week.
Oh, really?
Yep.
And when they
put a bit of context around it, like everything else.
Yeah.
But you know, it's not that hard here when you've got this staring you in the face.
Yeah.
And you've got a double top staring you in the face.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy to take that trade, really.
Probably a head and shoulders pattern there of some kind as well, isn't it? Fairly bullish one, but it is a head and shoulders.
Yeah, absolutely. And if this is a reversal, as I say, we'll get a fair result out of this. You know, this could go a long way.
Yeah, well, it would need. I mean, if so, if that is a head and shoulders, then I see the neckline starting at around about the 13th or 14th, is it?
You're looking at here.
Yeah. So you got a bit of.
It's a bit rubbish,
yeah, I like that. Yeah, that's what I would use. So you got a little bit of. Yeah, so around that point, but there's a little bit of room, isn't there? And I'd say that is probably the first target, isn't it? That you could get to. But I mean, if that goes through that area, then you've managed to pick it up right at the peak of the right shoulder, which is a fantastic spot.
Mm-hmm. I won't do anything to this trade now at all. I'll just let this run. Because if it is a reversal, then as I say, it'll go all the way.
Love it.
You know, at least down to here. Anyway,
love it, mate. Very good.
If it is good, if not, then we'll certainly try again. But at least we've banked today and got a little bit of that yesterday's. I'll call it a F up.
Well, do you know what's? I'll tell you what is interesting about that. We'll come to the pound yen again in a moment, but what the thing that happened to you yesterday was no different to what happened to me when I was trading into CPI. You know, it was just something that I missed, and I suppose that's the thing, isn't it? About errors. There's got to be some. Yeah. You make mistakes, and there's got to be somewhere you can log your list. What you got to check, because you know these are things that, and I've missed those news events in the past. But those moments become rarer and rarer as you go on. But you know, realistically, they're the ones that you can just make a list of. You don't even need to think about them then. Yeah,
look, it's already. I've changed my ways because I don't use this chart to do analysis. You see, I'm only using it to trade on.
Yeah.
So when I do my analysis, I've got my delineation on the chart.
Yeah.
And yesterday I didn't have any delineation, as I said, and it's just complete oversight.
Yeah.
That I traded into the high of the day and got burned. So yes, lesson learned. I'll put delineation on my chart.
Yeah. I was going to say pound yen. Check the weekly out.
The WI. Yeah, nice reversal bar there.
Yeah, I mean, you know, not only if he gets through that, but this could go a fair distance if that can get through the low of last week's bar. And you know, you're effectively also trading at the start of a potential shooting star on a longer term time frame. So this has got a really good chance of making some decent profit, isn't it? If you can keep those stops in the right place.
Yeah, look, it has absolutely. But again, I guess I should go back to the one we traded a couple of months ago as well, and that was this one here. We got in up here and got all of this until we got got taken out with that one. That was 11 point something to 1, that one. Same cross, not quite the same scenario, but gee, it's close.
Yeah.
It's close, but this one's on the way down already on the weekly chart. This one wasn't. This was a dead set reversal, but look at the pattern, mate. Bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
The same again. Exactly the same again.
Head and shoulders up there as well.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
Interesting.
If history repeats, I'd be quite happy to take 11 to 1 again.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're looking at what's the stop at the minute? How many pips is the stop?
Well, it's at entry, so.
Oh, right, okay.
Because I've already banked, and the entry was where? Entry was there. It's not telling me. $148.27.
148.27. I mean, I see a potential for 300 pips if that one goes.
Oh, look, yeah. There's massive potential, but
yeah,
as you say, I've got to manage this properly, and I'm banking on this line here, as you say, the neckline, to be broken with this rally, with this sell-off. And if that's the case, I should be able to withstand a retracement.
Yeah, and the thing is, because we're getting so close to those Brexit, that potential deal, this one could be quite vicious, and that's the difficulty, isn't it? Because you leave your stops nice and loose to give give that potential viciousness a chance to subside and get to where you profit. Or you leave them too loose. So the flip side of that is you leave them too loose, and you give away what could have been a really good run if it dips violently, and then before it comes back and possibly takes you out and goes in the opposite direction. And that's the nature of the beast of Brexit right now.
Yeah, look, I'm just trading completely technically here, and I think these things here are protecting me, because these have now got to be broken if they're actually going to make a difference here.
Yeah.
And if they're broken, that takes this level out, and it makes that the resistance level as well as that neckline.
Yeah.
So, I think I'm okay to be tight here, because if I'm wrong, or if these aren't right, then this will just reverse and go along anyway.
Yeah.
And it's going to take these highs out. So, without having a completely loose stop, then I'm happy where it is.
Very nice, mate.
We shall see, mate.
Yeah, we'll see on that. So,
Euro?
Yeah, let's go to the Euro.
Bit tough now to be thinking trading straight away, because we've had that break similarly to what the pound and pound yen have done. So yeah, a little bit tough. We've broken through this range here that we were looking at yesterday. I'll take all these lines off the chart actually, and I think this is best left alone for a while till the market actually settles down. So I'm not looking to trade this at all in the next little bit. But I won't be trading into the low of the day, I can promise you that.
Yep.
And cables.
Wow,
cables interesting. Yeah, it's now exactly the same as was, and this is exactly what I was looking for. But as I say, I'm trading on pound yen, not pound. Although I've still got the daily order in place here.
Similar weekly bar on the pound as well, as the pound yen.
Yep, I've got an order under here as well. So I'm going to let this sort it. And I've had that order on since Monday. Same order. It's not on this chart. That's a wave rider order along there.
That trend line held really well, didn't it?
Which one, mate?
The one that you drew on the
the 4-hour one.
Yeah. Held really well.
It got back to it again.
It did get back to it, and it looks like we got a reversal bar off it as well. Oh no, you had it lower. Yeah.
There, that one maybe.
Yeah. That was what you had.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
Bang, bang, bang.
That's a cracker, isn't it?
Absolutely. So, yeah, look, that one there was the one to trade, obviously on pound dollar,
Yeah,
but it's
yeah,
the same trading on pound yen. So,
yeah,
or I suppose I could have traded both, but when I saw the double cross, it was okay. There's only one option here.
yeah.
And
That
there
one
is pound
actually.
yen.
Oh yeah, no, I see it. I see a really nice entry on that. That shaped up at 5 this morning. That the trade for me would have been maybe 6 this morning, which I wasn't up and around for.
On the 4-hour chart.
No, actually going down to the hourly.
Yep.
Going down to the hourly, there's actually a setup on the hourly. You know, when you see that, yeah. Which one is it? Yeah, the you see the you've got the line where that bar is, which would have tried to enter below, but actually price breaks below, and then you get that candle that would have given us an opportunity.
Which one?
I got the 7 o'clock candle on the hourly on the dollar pound dollar.
7 o'clock. Where's 7 o'clock? Is your clock the same as mine? That candle there?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because in fact we don't quite break, but we do. But, you know, you can see that it's starting to kind of like it's starting to step down, isn't it? And that's a really nice solid step down in that direction there.
Yeah, it's starting to cycle already, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, we shall see. Can I get back into it? Or look, yeah, look, I don't see why not.
Can I just say why it was that step as well? Just
Yeah,
to let you know. So the reason I would have chosen that step is because of the trend line from the low on the 30 to on the was on the 24th. Yeah, from the 24th.
Yep.
That one, and when you drag that up, that's why.
Yeah.
That's why it's that step for me rather than the previous step.
Yep. Okay. Cool. Makes sense.
Yeah, and look at that channel as well. I don't know if that's equidistant channel, but it looks pretty good.
I can certainly make one. I reckon if I put it there, it would be, but that's not where you want it. Yeah, it's not perfect.
Hmm.
Maybe off that one.
Hmm.
No. Yeah, it's kind of there, isn't it? I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect to see it.
No, no. Okay, mate. Anything else?
Let me take a quick squiz at the Aussie, mate. We saw this, a few days ago, and
Yeah.
and said this would be a nice potential entry up here if we could find one, and trade it back down to here.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? It's there.
Yeah.
And yeah, look, actually, if it hadn't gone so far today, this is today, isn't it? What chart are we on? 30 minutes.
You see, I think you would have been well and truly asleep, wouldn't you, when the FOMC announcement was made?
Yeah, that's like 3 or 4 o'clock in the
Yeah,
morning.
but I do think that both of us were looking for dollar strength, and it was a really interesting session when we were both on because I think a lot of these currencies were moving counter the underlying direction that they were probably going to go in.
Yep.
And while we were talking, we were both saying that you can't really see anything but dollar strength with a rate hike kind of so obviously telegraphed and on the cards, and it's played out. It's
so
played out really
it is,
well. Yeah, and I think that if we were looking at another aspect of our trading and what we do, that's a fundamental strategy. We've basically you managed to get into a couple of bits and pieces, and the only one I could have got into was the pound, but that was at 6 in the morning when I was asleep. But what I'm saying is that actually was the fundamentals that drove are,
yes,
you know, and what we didn't have,
Mm.
the ability to do was be up at the right time to give the technicals a chance. But I really like that. I really like the fact that that you start to combine, you know, the fundamentals and the technicals to start getting trades on.
It's a great assistance. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah,
You know, we're kidding ourselves if we think that that fundamentals aren't in play any
yeah,
day of the week. You know,
yeah,
because they are. Of course, they are. They come together. Fundamentals and technicals come together at some stage, and
well,
you
yeah,
know, I think we're seeing that now, where that has played out, in particular on the pound and pound yen,
yeah,
where we've seen. I mean, they're not there yet. I must hasten to add, but everything looks to be pointing towards this going short.
yeah,
And technically, you know, that you don't get any stronger signal than that, in my humble opinion.
mm,
And if this does play out, it's very much because of a technical aspect. We
mm.
had the fundamentals in here. You know, the fundamentals are at play in here somewhere. And now we're seeing the technical aspect plus the fundamentals, because the fundamentals come into play here,
Yeah.
and join the band, you know, and on we
Well,
go.
there's the very, very, very interesting time at the minute. We got I watched the Labour leader give his speech last night to his conference hall, and I don't know what it is about the guy, but I've never really liked him. I find him a bit of an egotist, um, and uh, and just disingenuous and just a bit of a kind of bit of a fumbler. Um,
Mm.
but I have to say, last night my opinion completely reversed. I saw him and I thought, I think I've completely, you know, I've misjudged the guy. I think I've been looking at him thinking that he's disingenuous and a, you know, a bit of a fumbler and he's a bit of an egotist. But actually, I think that's just the way he comes across when he's in certain environments with the press, and he's just not very
Is this
good at.
Corbyn you're talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He's just not very good with the press, and I think he kind of like he ends up. That's just not his thing. But some of the stuff he came out with, some of the ideas that they've got, and the thing that, you know, so most of his policy is going to punish me, but I would still vote for them because actually the thing that they've got, which I really like, is stuff about the environment and seemingly kind of like more bothered about the outside world, which that is so refreshing from my perspective, you know, to hear
Mm.
that from a politician, you know, somebody who actually cares about not about the economy first, but they're more bothered about what might happen in the future to the planet. Um, I'm kind of in, and I thought if he'd made that speech and then there was a general election the next day, he would win. I'd
Yeah.
almost guarantee he would win. He's very popular, and I think they are now starting to become. He's becoming more refined, which has taken him a while to get to. He's becoming quite a decent politician who can speak to the nation now, rather than looking like an activist, which he seemed like a little bit for a long time.
That's an
Um,
oxymoron, by the way, but I know what you're saying.
oh, explain.
A decent politician doesn't exist.
Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah, very, very true. Let me put that a better way. A more
I know.
academic politics. So more refined. So seeming like somebody who is had been coached as a politician a bit. You know,
Yep.
understanding how to reach out to loads and loads of people. So if there was a general election, but this is where things become interesting because they want a completely different deal with the EU, and actually he's meeting Barnier today as well. Jeremy Corbyn, he's gone off to meet Michel Barnier, but they want a completely different deal with the EU. And if they were to get into power, I think that even though business would be concerned about them being in power because you know, they are so pro worker, and there are certain things about their policies which I think probably won't get a chance to run with. They won't get a chance to run with. Um, they are to a degree they are pro EU. I mean, Corbyn has always seemed like a reluctant Remainer, but I think the reason for that is that he wants to stay in a reformed European Union rather than rather than a European Union in its current state. But I think he gets the fact that you got to stay in to do that. But there's if there's enough groundswell, it wouldn't shock me to see a general election happen before we leave the EU, and then things will change again with the pound. I mean, it might actually throw in some uncertainty. It might throw in some negativity. But after the general election is done, and if Corbyn can get in, especially if he gets in with a coalition with the Liberal Democrats, then I think then we start to see some significant changes in the pound. But I think we've got rocky roads ahead, and the reason I say that is that I think Theresa May is in a lot of trouble within her own party and definitely within Parliament. And I don't think, even if she got a deal signed off by the EU, she's going to get it through. I think it'd be tight, be very, very tight, and that might be enough to stop it altogether.
Sounds like, for different reasons, Australian politics, they're probably off to the polls sooner rather than later as well. Although there's a general election next year anyway. So,
but this is the thing, isn't it? We have to. How does that filter down and give us information about the charts? And I think we should start looking for shorts again in the pound. I think after watching the speech yesterday, hearing Labour's position on how they were going to approach the Theresa May proposals, I think after hearing how Theresa May is actually doing in Brussels, I think we should start looking for shorts in the pound for those reasons, so they become the fundamental reasons. I think that we start looking for shorts in the pound. So I think any technical setups that are there, I think we should be diving on them.
I'm trying.
So what have you got? So in actual fact, we got UK Open. Should we have a quick look at the FTSE Open up?
Oh yeah, go for it, mate. I haven't got anything at the moment, and
okay, great.
We'll have anytime soon.
Why is that sharing that screen there? There we go. Okay, so here we go. Broke down a pattern yesterday. We got a few levels here that I'm interested in, but we did break down a pattern yesterday, which is this this rising wedge or triangle, I suppose somebody might want to call it, but it looks like a rising wedge. Now, the rising wedge is obviously bearish, so we are looking now for potential moves to the downside. Now, let's see which line that might bring us to. There's the breakout area, and it looks like it's going to bring us all the way down to this 74.16, and I'll be quite happy with that. I'm not sure how happy to trade it I will be down there, but what I really want is the opportunity to pick price back up down here. So be a little bit careful because with the pound potentially weakening as well, the pound has broken out of that trend line, and now.
Yeah, I think this candle is going to tell a big story today. Actually, it's really the first one after FOMC, isn't it?
The first hour.
It's the first candle traded by the world, really.
Right.
After the FOMC.
Yeah.
No, the majority of traders. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. I mean, look at this with the FTSE as well. So much to the FTSE today points for downside. We've got to wait really for somewhere in this area. Let me just see where these pivots are. We're probably going to get a trade this morning. If this starts to rise up, we'll probably get a little trade to the downside. We're looking at around about 7,500. So we're about 7 pips away. So we are looking for a short between 7,500 and 7,505. And we'll swing our stops to the high. So let's see if we get on board here to the downside. Now it's going to be a little while. We got a little while to wait, so we don't need to worry too much. But we will look for at that point a potential move down to 74.16, which would be a fantastic move.
Mate, does the first move there, the bearish engulfing bar, which is the high, and it's also a high test bar, the absolute high on the chart.
Oh yeah, here, yeah.
That high test bar followed by well, it's not really a bearish engulfing bar, but what do you call that? A shooting star?
Well, yeah, that's an evening star. This three pattern, yeah.
Yeah. So is that influencing your your bias short here.
It is, and to be honest, I did actually trade this I did trade this yesterday. You know, when I saw this happen yesterday, I did take a trade.
Yep.
But it was really a scalp, so I did get into the downside. But I don't really like holding onto things in the last. Well, I don't get the opportunity to trade in the last hour most of the times, but I would have traded this. But I wouldn't hold overnight because of the gaps that get created. You know, sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong, and if you're wrong, it can really hurt. So I don't tend to trade that, but as you can see, you know, it doesn't tend to be a big deal. You know, more often than not, you get the opportunity again. I mean, this is bang on price, and if I was just looking at price alone without any further evidence, I would trade this now to the downside, and this might be enough. It might go. So you know, it is where I want it to be. But yeah, you're absolutely right. This does make it does influence my decision, as does this evening star here. You know, this is the same thing effectively. It was a different bar in the middle, but this is a doji evening star followed by an evening star followed by another evening star, and then we finally break down. So you get 3 of them in a row, actually, and I've got my pattern. You know, so I've got a reason for this to potentially fail somewhere. But really, you know, even with this going on, and I did, don't get me wrong, I did see this last night. You know, I wasn't here for the last hour, but I did see this last night. But the reason I wasn't trading it was because of FOMC. You know, I wanted to see what direction that the market went in, and actually, it was very muted. The reaction was very muted initially. And then it was the final hour that threw this down, and that happened 2 hours after FOMC happened. So there wasn't a straight reaction to start with, and then the market threw price away. But now is a much better time to trade, or this is a much better opportunity for us, much cleaner, because we have got the break of the rising wedge. So what we want to see with these patterns is a break and a back test, and then get on a trade. We end up with similar price anyway, and we get a little bit more confirmation and potentially safety. You can't say it's you know, 100% safe, but you potentially get a bit more safety by trading the break and the back test rather than the initial break. Except for there are those people that manage to take profit here, and then we'll try and re-enter here as well. So actually, this is a really nice opportunity. But because what's happening now is what we need to see is, does this price refuse? And as you know, all we can rely on is a hint of information that it's going to refuse. And the issue with all this is that even if people haven't seen that this is a rising wedge, they certainly will see this lower trend line. So price will struggle here regardless. You know, we can watch it in motion when we look at this on a minute chart. You know, as it approaches this this line, there are going to be sellers, as we can see. You know, this one bar is expressing it as it's not able to get through. And that's not our challenge. You know, we know that there are going to be sellers there. What we want to know is, after the sellers come in, is there enough appetite for that to then carry through? So we've got a price, and actually the price it looks good. You know, there's enough evidence. We've just seen it live in action that there are sellers there. So now we're just waiting for further evidence, and that really comes in when we look at time frame correlation and what we choose to be our time frame that we're going to trade off. You know, do we need to see evidence on the hourly, for example? You know, are we waiting for this bar to stick here for an hour? Maybe another bar comes up and tests a little bit and gives us a reversal bar. Do we do that? Do we do it on a 5? Do we do it on a 15 minute? And do we do it on a half hour? And I think this is one of the greatest challenges for trading, because, you know, finding the levels is the first challenge, and it's a big one. It's not to be discarded. The second one is direction, or you could flip those, you know, whichever way around you like. But the third one about entry, I think, becomes, you know, it's a key aspect, isn't it? How you get an entry on a market, and that's where things start to become interesting, because there's so many different ways you can do it.
Mm. Oh, look, you throw anything at it. You've got a very good confluence there of horizontal level as well. Pretty much
Absolutely
exactly
do. Yeah, absolutely do. Which you're talking about this one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely do. Yeah. So there's certainly evidence and signs and signals that that this area is there. We know the area's there, I suppose. And actually, you know what? You've alerted it to this point, which I guess you'd seen already, right?
Yeah, the left shoulder. Yeah.
Yeah, the left side there. So, I mean, I was looking in this area, but you're absolutely right. It does make it even more interesting that that confluence area. I mean,
Yeah, I think that's a bigger level because that was a big rally that led up to that, and then the deep
yes,
off it.
yes, absolutely. What's interesting as well is that when you start to look at longer term time frames, let me look at this on the daily. These bars here, inside bar, spinning top, shooting star. You know, there's already kind of evidence that this area is struggling.
Yep.
Um,
Rising
so
in agony.
yeah, that's right, and we might start to get some sort of tower top here. You know, but and it looks to be that way. Let's have a look at the weekly as well. I know we're not quite there yet, but the weekly bar is currently bullish, but if this starts to fail, this might also end up like a some sort of shooting star reversal bar as well. So I think there's enough evidence here to suggest that the weaker side could win out eventually. And again, a pretty solid line there. Now that's a little bit higher. That's around about 50 pips higher. So it's going to be somewhere in that area if it's able to spark forward. I think we will eventually refuse you know, somewhere around there. But the other thing that we need to be cautious of with this, and I really want some downside, but the only reason I want downside is so I can get in at a lower price.
Yeah.
But it's whether I trade in the opposite direction. You know, that's the big question. And this is the big aspect of trading as well, isn't it? Do you pass on a potential opportunity to go short, knowing that knowing that the bigger picture, knowing that the biggest picture here. I mean, you know, we don't need to be that wise to be seeing from this point to this point leads us to an uptrend. So, you know, we should be looking for longs, particularly as intraday traders, because we're looking at the shorter term time frames. You know, I think if we looked at really long time frames, monthlies to the upside, so we can have that one. Weekly's questionable until we break back through these highs now. Daily is a little bit questionable, but you really have to say that that this starts to become you know, it's not a nice clean steppy uptrend and with nice cyclicity, but it is a trend to the upside.
It's broken the downtrend line as well on that chart.
Yeah, well, this area here. Oh, and this area. Is that what you're looking at? Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, it absolutely has. Yeah, it's broken through the downtrend line as well. Yep. So, so the dailies moving to the upside. So we got monthly, yes, weekly questionable, daily, yes, 4 hour, yes, hourly, yes, and then when we start to get down to the lower term time frames, then that's when things start to change a little bit. So the point really that I'm making is, and it becomes a little bit tricky because realistically we should be just waiting. You know, but the question is, do we wait and get less opportunity, but something which is a little bit something with a bit more confidence because it's with the overall trends, or do we try and trade it in both directions and try and make money on the way up and on the way down? And I have to say,
always been a fan of making money on the way down when the market's on the way up. Always a fan.
Yes.
But trying to pin a cloud down or catch a falling knife going the other way is a very tricky thing to do.
Yes, it absolutely is. And this is the thing for me is I've never heard that term, pin a cloud down, but I really like that.
It's mine. You can use it.
Oh, thank you. I really like that.
From the sound. I got it from the Sound of Music.
I wish you hadn't told me that bit. Yeah, the big thing about it is that not the big thing, sorry, my personal preference is to wait, you know, because when I trade to the downside, um not every time, but oftentimes I'm trading because I'm waiting so long that you know, there is obviously an opportunity. I don't trade irresponsibly. I don't want anybody to think that I'm trading irresponsibly. It's responsible, but I'm waiting so long for what I really want. I just kind of think, well, I may as well just get into the market. You know, let's get into the market and take something, because otherwise I'm going to get nothing for, you know, what could potentially be a week. You just don't know.
If you've got a way to do it, do it. That's the way I look at it. And only just recently, in fact, let me go back to Bali last year.
Yeah.
Where prior to that, the only way I would trade a reversal is if I had a genuine setup, one of my own setups.
Yeah.
After a reversal pattern, and indeed after either a lower high if I'm trying to go short, or a higher low if I'm trying to go long. And I had never, ever, I considered it, but I didn't really find a way until we went to Bali last year, and we sat and talked to each other and got a few hints about how each trader does their own different thing. And I picked up a method of being able to trade the reversal the way I traded pound yen today. It's exactly the same.
All right.
And I would never have traded that before. I would have traded it probably today on the double cross, but oftentimes the setup just doesn't come for me, and the market's gone before I even think. Well, I think about getting in, but before I can get into the market, it's actually gone. But now I've found a method of actually picking that up. So tops of rallies and bottoms of sell-offs don't really concern me much anymore, because I've got a set rule, and if the rule is adhered to, you can make money on the way down, even if it's a retracement. You know, as long as you're sound with your management of that trade, you should be making money out of it. And right. it is a scalp at the end of the day.
Yeah,
but sometimes that scalp can lead into a big reversal.
Yes. Well, I mean, that will happen with the FTSE. I mean, it's but you see, the thing that puts me off trading to the downside with the FTSE specifically, not the other ones actually. You know, I've got no adversity to trading any currency in either direction, because I know something is winning. But with the FTSE, it's a bit different. You know, it's when the FTSE sells off, it's losing. It's binary. The FTSE, it's just it's winning or losing. And my problem is that that when this market is trending in whatever direction, but I think more specifically to the upside, every single hint that it's going to go to the downside, until it genuinely breaks, is usually swallowed back up to the upside. You know, it's, and we got case in point today, but I think we've had this a few times. You know, just when the FTSE looks like it's going to start to break down, people start swelling it back up again. You know, this isn't a problem right now, because we've had an hour to the downside. The first 15 minutes does tend to be quite a key barometer and indicator. And when I look at the first 15 minutes, has a slightly different look actually on the first 15. But still there, still above. You know, I mean, we'll probably sort of start to see this give us signs and signals of some weakness. But very strong bar, you know, very strong bar to open the first 15 minutes, which is suggesting that anything that is going to be looking at downside now is probably going to be a pretty tricky ride until we get a specific reason. I mean, we do need to get to reasons as well today, and this is what we have.
I think the reason happened, about 12 hours ago.
Well, possibly, quite possibly. But check this out. And this guy, and you may not be aware of this, but he has got the ability to shank the FTSE like nothing else I've seen.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that. I certainly have seen Euro, but didn't know he was a FTSE fiddler.
Oh, he's a FTSE fiddler, all right. Yeah, yeah, and he can really shank it about. I mean, it's I've seen Mario Draghi switch trend, like, within switch a strong trend as well. He can switch a really strong trend on his speeches. Obviously, when he's done that to the extreme, and I do sort of like remember specific times on that. But obviously, when he's done that to extreme, it has been things like, what's the plan with Greece? So we are looking at kind of financial crash kind of points. But I still think he because of the hangover from that, he still has the ability to spook markets and put things on hold a little while. So that in itself is going to make trading up into his speech probably a little bit tricky to get some true direction, but not necessarily. That may not be the case, but it's probably going to be a little bit tricky. I have a quick fast forward to tomorrow, and all I've got is current account, which won't make a big difference unless it's a huge number. So catalyst wise, when the FTSE and when the market is going in this direction like this, what is going to switch to make it come to the downside? That's the other thing at the back of my head. And then I start to come over and I start to look at the pound, and knowing what what my beliefs of the pound is, that the pound has broken down, and I think the fundamentals of the pound are that we should be looking for shorts. Then again, it's sort of like it starts to make the downside option with the FTSE very, very difficult.
Yes.
So because of all these things, all these aspects, and what we've just seen from the first 15 minutes. Obviously, if we'd had a clearer picture that there was going to be a thrust to the downside early doors, that would have changed things. But we've had FOMC yesterday. We've had pound weakness. We've had the Labour conference, and effectively, painting the picture that they are never going to back Theresa May. We've still got Theresa May clasping at trying to get some sort of deal with the EU. We got the EU refusing that deal. We got the pound yen maybe giving us some sort of barometer. We got the pound dollar giving us some sort of barometer. And with that, all these combinations, we start to look at it and go, or I start to look at it and I go, do I really want to take the hard trade? And what to me is the hard trade, even if it sets up, do I really want to take it? And
the short you're talking about?
I'm not talking about the short. Yeah. So I can look at all of it, and I can see that there's maybe a technical reason for a short, but do I really want to take it? Because to me, taking it is, and it's one of those, isn't it? You don't take it and it works out, and it's the easy trade, but you take it and it works and it doesn't work out, and it's the hard trade. But the reason that I class it as the hard trade is that I think mentally for me it's going to be a struggle. It's going to be a struggle to probably manage, and it's going to be a struggle if it goes in the opposite direction. I will be pretty frustrated with myself.
So pretty much you've answered the question.
Oh yeah,
two or three times.
yeah. I guess I was. It was a rhetorical rant for people listening, really. Yeah.
Yeah, look, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, because each and every one of us in the room, no matter whether we're just starting to trade or whether we've been trading for 100 years plus, is going through exactly the same emotional conditioning. And until you, and believe me, it never goes away. Well, sorry, certainly after 12 years, it hasn't gone away from me, where you continue to question yourself.
Yeah.
What you have to do as a trader is sit down, and as Ash has just said, you've got to take the easy trades. And it's when maybe an easy trade goes wrong, and you're putting yourself under pressure and saying, well, my strategy is wrong, it's gone, and all the rest of it. You question yourself, and until you're over that battle with yourself and can absolutely sit there and say, look, this is too hard. As Ash has just said, he said it in many ways, but it's too hard to go short here. And it's pretty easy what you need to do once you've made that decision. Absolutely bloody nothing. Wait till it's beer o'clock.
You wait till beer o'clock, or wait until that short turns into something that you can go long on, which is really the other side of this. It doesn't mean that I don't trade. It just means that I'm waiting for a setup in the direction that I want.
And I mean, that's what we do as traders each and every day. And if we're not doing that, if we're trying to chase entries into the markets, we're going to have a terrible time long term. You might have some lucky hits, or you might have a dream run, but it won't last. You have to have a system of some kind. You just can't take this market on every single day and hope to beat it, because it's a beast.
Yeah, it is a beast. Yeah, it is a beast, which is where rules come in, isn't it? I mean, that's why we put rules in place, because,
you meant the one I broke yesterday when I went in.
Yeah,
but it was unknowingly. I didn't mean it.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? I mean, sometimes we break the rules unknowingly, and as I said before, last week I broke my CPI rule as well. But the main thing is that we learn from it, and I think it was one of those that I mean, we just both missed our rule. It's not that we purposely broke them; we just both missed that they were in play, which can happen, And I think that, for me, it was our first day of the show. First day we'd done this show, and I
trying to take a losing trade.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. I was kind of focused on so many other things trying to make the technology work that I missed that important piece of information, which is probably a lesson in itself. You shouldn't really trade when there's other things on your mind and other things to do.
Right. There's another rule.
Yeah, because it's so easy to miss something, isn't it? It's so easy to miss something, and it's not like, trading is stacked with all this detail that you can't miss a thing, because you'll still miss things, and a trade can work out. But I think that there are certain things that, if they paint the picture of what you do, to the core, and you miss them, core rules that you miss, I think that there does become an issue from there.
Yeah, that's the problem. You need to settle down there and go back to the drawing board, or back to the little corner where you hold your hand up for an hour, like the teacher used to make me do. Hold your hand out, Pine, for an hour, the whole class. Put that back up, Pine. So you learn the discipline again, That's what you make. So, yes, I mean, waiting for those setups makes it a whole lot easier on your psyche, I can assure you.
Yeah, it absolutely does. So we are waiting on this. So is there anything else that we haven't covered yet that we could cover? I'm just going to get the heat map up as well.
Yeah, look, I'd really like to say that that we're sweating on something to happen here with the majors that I trade, but the truth is I don't have anything at the moment. I've just got to wait, because the moves have happened.
Yeah,
the moves I'm looking for have happened, and I've now got to wait until they either reverse or consolidate and give us another opportunity. Market's having a little bit of a go at the moment. Is there news? Well, we haven't had a look at Forex Factory, have we?
Yeah, but do you know what? Just
well, you have.
I did take it, but why don't you take the screen back for a moment, because I'm just going to bring up my heat map and see if that's going to give me any detail.
Sure. Are you giving me the screen?
Yeah, you got the screen.
Okay. And there's me, but not my chart. Why is it so?
Oh, I can see your chart. Oh, interesting.
There you go.
Let me just quickly show you something. Actually, sorry. Sorry to take this back off you again, and I'll give it. I'll give it back again. But this is always interesting. This is our FTSE 100 heat map. So we've kind of discussed the fundamentals, but actually the technicals are really all pointing to downside, which is not a major problem. But you can see that there's more red here than blue, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we've got more red than blue on that. We've got, I like to look at the rises as a list, because this is when you'll start to see the important activity. And when you start to get the real flashes, I'm gonna shift this to a different screen, but I thought that was maybe quite telling that that we've got the heat map really looking kind of bearish.
What sort of time frame is the heat map looking at?
Ticks.
Ticks, okay.
Yeah, so it's instant.
Mm-hmm.
It tells you instantly what's going on. This isn't the best heat map, but there's a company called ShareScope that make some brilliant. They really have got brilliant software. And they've got a heat map on their software, but there is a slight. It's not huge, but I think it's about maybe £60 a month for the software. And the problem is, unless you are really doing shares, unless you're share dealing and investing on shares, it's a little bit overkill. Because it is brilliant. The mining facility on ShareScope is just astonishingly good. You can go into fundamental analysis like nothing else I've seen.
Okay.
But it's overkill, because you're kind of like you're paying a price for these charts and all this information that you just don't really need. But the heat map's
you need a
brilliant.
Mini, you got a Ferrari, yeah.
Yeah, this is the thing. But the heat map's brilliant, because actually what I want to see from a heat map is not. I don't like this view. Let me bring this back up again. I don't like it when I kind of come to the actual, the heat map here. I don't like this view, because I'm getting a kind of an overview of what's going on of the market. So you get a block. What I kind of want is a bit more. I want it to be a bit more precise. So what I want is a list of gainers to fallers. So when I come back and refresh that list, I can see if anybody's hopped into the gainers column and anybody's hopped into because if you got like 30 gainers and 70 fallers, and then you get 31 gainers, 32 gainers, you can see that happen in those little digits. Whereas with this, I can't tell whether Rio Tinto or Rentokil has started to go positive or not. It's got 0.13%. So I'd have to focus specifically on that. It's just not. It's just too tricky for me.
Can you zoom in? That's the top 100, obviously. Can you zoom into the top 10 or top 20 on that?
Well, you can do rises or fallers. Top volume, yeah, you can do top volume.
No, I actually mean the top stocks, not as changes. If you know what I mean. All I'm looking at is the top 10 companies.
Yeah, the top 10 companies would is this top volume. So it's always BP and Lloyds. And
right. Yeah. Okay. To me, that would be a strong indicator. I would have thought, if they're all red.
Yeah, which is difficult again, because they don't give you at this point. I want another list from this top volume. I want another list which says rises to fallers, but I don't get that. So it's again a little. I've got to do a lot of random work with that. I just want a list rather than
something flashing at you, like
something flashing, exactly. And all I can really use is this. The good thing about using risers or fallers is that you can the top companies. I know BP's in there. I know Royal Dutch Shell would be in there as well. So I know British American Tobacco's in there. So I can see which ones are quite high on the list. Which does give me a little bit more detail, but it's not really something that I can use that well. not like ShareScope. You know, if I had ShareScope, it'd be a completely different picture. But I will leave this in the corner anyway, and if things if it gives me any kind of detail that I can use, then I will shout out.
All right. Let me show you something.
Yeah.
Unless you've got something else.
No.
Okay.
I will shout when there's a setup to the downside in the FTSE, because even though I won't take it, but you know, there might be people out there that want to.
Sure. I don't know why this does this, but it'll click it twice. Okay. I'll catch up. All right. Now, I want to show you the reason why I'm actually out of action at the moment and can't trade. This line here is my line in the sand for going short on this cross today.
Yeah.
So once that's crossed, again, it's either go to the pub or do something else, because I can't trade here. Can I trade it long is the question. Sorry, I can't trade short here because I can't trade short below that line. And that's just my rule. Now, what I do see here
can we go into detail of why, or is that going to give too much away?
Oh, no, that's fine. It's the first support level.
Okay.
It's the first mean support level. So I can't ignore that because the market doesn't ignore it. The market reacts to it every single day. And most of the time, you can check this by yourselves, guys, if you want to. Most of the time, price intraday, I'm talking about only, spends its time inside that first support level and the first resistance level. As I say, check it if you're not on board with me there, but it's absolutely the case.
So it's below first support, but you wouldn't trade short even though it's below first support.
I wouldn't trade short if it's below first support, and I wouldn't trade long if it's above first resistance, because the probability of it going outside of that area,
yeah,
is very low. And when it does go outside of that area, it sucks back very quickly. So I would be expecting this to finish up back towards this area at some stage today, unless there is, as we say, a fundamental reason for it so not to do. It is generally the case that price intraday only, I'm only talking intraday, spends its time in this area here. And you can check that on any chart you like. But it is absolutely a golden rule of mine that if I'm below this line, I don't go short. And if I'm above this line, I don't go long.
So when that first support becomes first resistance, that's when you would go short under it.
You mean tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, could it become first resistance at some point?
It can tomorrow, yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And I hope it does, because that means my pound yen trade will be going good.
Yeah.
That'll be fine. So, you know, I just restrict myself to that. And it makes, as you were saying earlier, Ash, it just makes my life easy.
Yeah.
Because if price is here or here, I don't need to do, well, there's one thing I do need to do. I need to monitor when it comes back into this area, because it may be that I get a setup to trade it back to here, which is the daily mean, right? The daily pivot, if you like. So that pretty much controls my day, those three lines. And
right.
when they're as clear as this, it's very, very easy. Yesterday, as I said, I can't remember where. It was pretty close to where it is today, I think. And where's yesterday's line? What's this chart? Let me go back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, that bar there. That was yesterday, right? Actually, one more. 2, 4. That was yesterday. And if I go to the 30-minute chart, you can see what I did. If I had that line on my chart, there's no way I would have traded long here, because I thought that this was the high of yesterday, which was very close to that resistance line that I'm talking about. If you want to go back and have a look at it.
Yeah.
The problem was I was considering that was the high of the day, and for that reason, there was plenty of room. There was even room to close at that level and win money, which would have been ideal. But the problem was I was trading straight into the high of the day and didn't know it.
Yeah.
This to me was a new high based on this one. And that to me is fine to trade intraday if you've got a higher high inside that day. But fact is I didn't. And I got it wrong. Absolutely. I completely got that wrong. Unknowingly, but that's the case. And for those of you who were in the room and followed me, I humbly apologize for putting you into that position, because it was absolutely the wrong trade to take at that point. And guess what? You'll probably see a lot of red lines on my chart from now on, just to delineate where the day begins and ends. And I explain again that I don't do my analysis on this chart, and I don't normally trade on it. And that's why that occurred. So again,
don't the pivots help you as well with establishing where the day begins and ends?
Yes, they do, but I haven't actually got the pivots on my chart. I'm just drawing a line on there, telling me where they are. These aren't the pivots; they're the levels where the pivots are.
Okay.
So actually, maybe I should do that. Everyone knows I'm using pivots. I might as well put them on my chart. Eh? What a good idea, Ash. Let's do that now.
Well, I mean, it takes away something that you can't forget, doesn't it? And
I'm glad I thought of that.
and you know what the thing is, I mean, obviously for members, we're quite happy to express why, but anybody that's in for free, we can't give away all the information, and having pivots on the chart don't express how they're used.
Yeah, look, I actually use them in a few ways, a few different ways. But as you say, we're not giving all of our strategies away in a free show live to air and on YouTube. That's for sure. And I don't mean to sound mean with that. It's not meant to be, but we've spent a lot of time developing these strategies, and they are certainly valuable.
Yeah.
It's our life, it's our work. So
yeah, well, this is the thing, and the problem is if you cover those pivots up, then actually it starts to affect you, doesn't it?
It did. It absolutely did. So yeah, let's get them back on there. Absolutely right. Fortunately, I didn't put 10 lots in the market.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't have done it anyway, but there we go. That looks a whole lot better to me. Now I feel like I'm at home, Ash.
Yeah, well, at least you can see that. Yeah, because as you say, you would have never have taken that trade if your charts were normal, would you?
No, it's one of my golden rules. Do not trade into the high of the day.
Yeah. I mean, I think with this stuff, we are still getting through those teething issues, aren't we?
Certainly, it's a whole different ballgame when you change charts and don't have the lines that you've been using for the last 10 years on your charts. It is a bit of a difference.
So have you got an alarm on there?
Looks like I have. I don't know why. I was trading this yesterday, wasn't I?
I wish we could work out. Oh, is that for today?
No, it was for yesterday. That was.
I wish we could work out comments, because if we could work out comments, we could look at some of these other charts for people.
What these poor people are actually frustrated trying to communicate with us.
Yeah.
I don't know why that would be the case. There has to be a rule book here that we can follow, surely.
Yeah. What else is there? I wonder if you need to do. There are other apps, and I wonder whether we need a different app.
Yeah, I've got no idea. Oh, that's Paul's stop loss. I better leave that alone. I'll get in trouble. I'll move that.
What chart's that on?
That's the cable wave rider.
Oh, it's PH, is it? Oh yeah, PH. What was in this? Was he long?
Yeah, he got long. He's a daily trader, isn't he?
Yeah.
He would have got long, probably on that bar, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine that was his master there. Well, that's where he's got his stop. So I imagine yes. So I'm just going to put these pivots on my chart now. So I've got no excuse anymore to trade into a high of the day or a low of the day.
I have got a really awful chart pattern going on here with the FTSE 100. It's very, very confused right now, which is it's kind of interesting. I'll show you what we got here. Am I thinking with this? So far, we've got obviously a rising wedge. We've got a break of that rising wedge. We've got pretty much a back test, which is going on and surviving within the range. But obviously, that important horizontal level, there is a horizontal level slightly higher as well. But 7,500 seems to be quite key. The half hourly has got a little while to wait. But when we switch to 15, I think this is where things start to get a bit more interesting with the information that we have. This is a slightly different level on the 15, which is which is suggesting, it's not down at this level like this one would be. This has got its own level, so its own pattern going on here, M topping pattern, and a price has come through. It's back tested. It's given us a weak bar, but not particularly weak. It's red, but I don't see this bar really giving us that much information about the weakness. But then this spinning top is the real interesting bar, because a spinning top, and this is a really good bar for any of you guys out there to recognize. When you see a spinning top, you don't want to do anything. You just want to stay away from the market, because what's much more likely to happen here is that this is going to try and push to the upside rather than breaking down like it has shaped to do. Not because of the spinning top, but the spinning top gives us indecision, and if there's indecision, then it's much more likely to continue trend rather than go in the adverse direction. So we've got that going on, and we flip down to the 5 really quickly. And the 5's maybe even making an inverted head and shoulders here, So it's become a really difficult play. In actual fact, that's not a bad little setup to the upside. This is interesting. This is actually a little setup to the upside. The question is, yeah, we're probably going to need to wait on that. Actually, we're going to take anything long. I won't go long, but there is a little setup to the upside. The issue is that at this moment in time, this is the bar that's in existence. This is the bar that is trying to wipe it out, but it's not really giving us all the information we need. So I think the spinning top in itself, is saying, don't do anything, because the market hasn't got a clue, and if it hasn't got a clue, then we won't have one. But yeah, I thought I'd just give a little breakdown of how confusing the charts are looking, and really another reason that we do nothing.
I think today is going to be a crack of a trading day, but it may not present until the US session.
Yeah, which is when Draghi's speaking.
Yeah, the breaks already happened today, and that's probably not going to go too far to change, is what I mean. It's probably not going to change too much until something changes it. And that's likely to be Draghi. It's likely to be the opening of the US session, because really they haven't had a crack at the Fed announcement yet either.
No, that's right.
You know, that's the one thing I guess, tend to forget coming out of FOMC statements and anything that happens overnight. You know, the US session was just about to close when the FOMC statement comes out.
Well, no, I had another couple of hours, so they would have had 2 hours to, and actually, you know, looking at what happened with the FTSE last night, it looks like it all happened in the very last hour as well. So they even had a little bit of chance to filter their, you know, get their heads straight. But you know, your point is relevant, because actually the pound didn't move until well, significantly later. You know, it was actually in the Asian session the pound moved, but you know, and you do make a valid point, because they haven't had a proper crack at it. They haven't had a day's crack at it. They've just had a couple of hours to kind of make some decisions.
Yeah, and that's those that did come back from lunch, of course.
That's right.
But it was only hump day, so I guess most of them be still eager to get a little bit of money in the bank.
Yeah, we haven't really had any
their wages.
I mean, usually you see a day where there's something significant, but we haven't really had that so far this week, have we?
Well, I guess because it was FOMC statement and interest rate poised to happen, which of course did, that the market tends to go into a holding pattern until we actually get the news. We had the news. We get a gut reaction, which we got. We got a bit of a whipsaw. And now I think the market is actually going to go into, if you like, the true reaction to what that interest rate announcement actually meant.
Yeah.
And as the big boys, you know, tend to jump in now and say, well, okay, all the gut reaction is now over. Let's do what we really need to do here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is the thing, you know, when I think about times of day to trade, my day is normally done. The first half of the day is normally done by around about midday, so you get 4 hours in the morning on the UK market. But after it hits midday, forget it. Go somewhere else. And then there's at least an hour and a half. It depends on. It depends on what the news announcement is at 1:30 at my time, because there is often a news announcement. But if there's nothing like there was yesterday, then you are literally then waiting for 2:30. So you get 2.5 hours to do, well, let's say 2 hours, because you want to be back in front of your computer just to check what's going on. So 2 hours of pretty much dead space. And then that leads right up until, you know, from 2 o'clock right up until 4:30, 5 o'clock even, with the FTSE it tends to be really good. Maybe even 6. You know, you could say 2 till 6. So, but effectively they go in 4 hour blocks: 8 till 12, 2 till 6, and then nothing until the very last hour in the day. But the very last hour in the day can be really good. So. So yeah, I've got another 3 hours to see if I can find something, or maybe I should put that pretty more accurately. I've got 3 hours for the market to actually give me something. But if it doesn't, then I'll come back for the US session quite happily.
Yeah, look, it's Thursday. It'll be later in the night before that comes for me, so chances of me trading again today are pretty slim, and pretty much due to where the market is. I don't have that much interest, to be fair, unless it comes back into the areas that I choose to trade. And look, I don't get me wrong, I'll probably have a little peek around about US Open time or an hour or so before as well, just to see if there's anything that is interesting there. But if the market continues in its same vein, then I've really got nothing to do, because I'm covered in that area and can only make money, so that's all good. If it comes back, then I might get interested again.
So we got anything this afternoon? or in a couple of hours, you or I ended up having to do yesterday.
I saw you on the schedule actually.
Yeah,
it's only me that's been sacked, which is fine by me.
Yeah, I wasn't too happy about it. Got to be honest, but I did my duty.
Good man, sure you did.
Yeah.
No, there's nothing today. I think the original show comes back on the second Tuesday in October, which would be Tuesday week.
Second Tuesday in October. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what's running today. What is running today? Is there anything running today?
No, there's nothing on after us. We're it.
Nothing at all.
We're it today. There's probably some strategy leader coaching sessions, but there's nothing public going on. No.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm a bit boring today, I'm afraid. There's really nothing to do here.
Yeah, it's unusual really on a Thursday, except for the fact that we got Draghi. But this is the important thing, isn't it? And I hope anybody that is viewing us, and if if they're a beginner or if they're experienced, it doesn't matter. But I hope they recognise that trading is very much it's kind of like fishing in a lot of ways, isn't it?
Very much so.
Like fishing. You just have to sit in your boat and what do you do when you ever do any fishing?
Yeah, mate, I did. I do.
What do you do? What do you do when there's no fish to catch?
I did. I had a couple more beers.
Yeah, it's a bit early for me. It's only 9 o'clock.
Well, it's not too early for me. It's coming. In fact, it's right in the middle of cocktail hour now. So when we knock off, I'll likely be doing that. Yeah, fishing's a great analogy. I've used it many times before, and I think it's particularly apt when if you're an organised fisherman, and guess who catches the fish? It's not the bloke who turns up and throws his line in the water and just hopes for the best. It's the guy who's got the tackle, he's got the bait, he's got the burley, he's got the boat, he's got everything. He's got all the equipment, and he's even got an esky full of beer to go with him.
Yeah.
So he's the guy that has a good day. The other guy gets sunburnt and probably just loses all his bait that he's just paid $10 for, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And he goes out with no fish. It's the guy who's totally organised and prepared and sets his bait and forgets about it until the fish come along.
Which is what we're
perfectly sound.
It is actually, yeah. When you kind of put it, that you're going to set your bait, and I suppose that's what we're doing right here, isn't it? We're just trying to see where the trap is going to lie, trying to set our traps, which is that's why we pick out levels.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to go into the water and chase the fish. That's for sure. They've got to come to me. It's as simple as that.
So you have a few beers. What else would you do?
Fishing.
Yeah, what else do you do when you sat on a boat and you got I suppose you take a book?
No, I've usually got the music going in the boat. We've just sold our boat actually when we moved to Tassie.
Bit of Megadeth.
No, probably a little bit of Air Supply or something like that. Celine Dion or something like that.
Something calm. In fact, if you played some Megadeth, the fish might actually poke their head up because of the vibrations.
What the?
Yeah. Who's playing
that? True story. Look, we used to love our boat, absolutely, and we spent many a weekend on the boat just hanging out and fishing, and caught a few fish.
Yeah.
Because we were prepared, of course.
Yeah.
But mainly it was just sitting on the deck and on the deck chair and listening to the music and having a couple of beers and a couple of wines. And if we caught a fish, we'd cook the fish on the boat. If we didn't, then it was sandwiches and cheese and bickies. And, it was a pretty good life, actually.
Yeah. Life as a fisherman.
Why did I give that up, Ash?
Well, you kind of haven't. You've just changed the you've changed the terrain a little bit, but it's still fishing.
No, look, to be fair, I had a couple of bad experiences with the boat, and I thought it's probably time that the boat went.
Yeah.
I drove over the mooring rope, see?
Yeah.
And tied up in the drive shaft. And of course, where we had the boat moored was in a place they call Shark Alley.
Oh, I've heard of Shark Alley.
I wouldn't, yeah, there's a few Shark Alleys, but this one was in my local lake out, not far from where I lived, and and I had the togs off, all my clothes off, jump in the water, no goggles, no snorkel, no nothing. So I'm underneath this boat, and I'm thinking, my God, there's going to be a shark here any minute. I know that it's just going to happen. And I can't see, I couldn't, and then I saw the rope, and it was so entangled around the propeller shaft. I just got out of the water after a few dives and thought, it's beer o'clock already. So I ring someone with a diving gear, and they came and rescued me, and many hundreds of dollars later and a few beers, we're off the mooring. Right? So that was one of them. But there are a few more that I won't go into at the moment.
Did you see any sharks? What sort of sharks are in Shark Alley?
Oh, white pointer sharks, great whites.
Great whites?
Yeah, and bull sharks, great whites and bull sharks.
You were diving in water where there's great whites?
Well, what option do I have? I couldn't move.
I would have rung the dude straight away.
Yeah, well,
that'd be option one. I'll be like, I'm not going in there.
Going, how many hundreds versus shark bite? Ooh. That's what the decision came down to be. Anyway, we got off there and lived to tell the story, I suppose.
Wow, geez, man. You know what? I love sharks, but I wouldn't be going into its territory unless I was fully prepared. So, did you not have any? Not even a mask?
No, nothing.
So, I mean, is that because you just didn't think you'd ever need one, or was that just an oversight? You forgot it that day.
No, I couldn't find it. No, all the gear's on the boat. I think Alison may have taken it off and gone scuba diving somewhere and put it back on. But it's normally on the boat, part of the kit.
Right. Right.
Anyway, new candles.
Yes, new candles. You want to have a quick look? Interesting. The FTSE 100 actually, it could actually roll to the downside here with this half-hourly bar. It could start to roll to the downside. Not a bad bar. It's not amazing because of where it lies. When you sort of kind of consider context, that the context here probably just isn't quite good enough. So you could trade that to the downside, but as I said, that and also interestingly, it's closed just about on top of that horizontal level. Yeah. So there is a setup there. Let me just quickly check the hourly on one thing. There is a setup there, and it looks okay. Yeah, it actually looks pretty good, but yeah, it does actually look pretty good. But I'm not going to take it because, as I said, I'm going to wait for the upside. But anybody wanting to take that, I wouldn't put stops at the high of this candle. I'd put it at the high of the whole range. So I'd give yourself some room. You can make a judgment call if it does start to tip too high and close too high. But I would make a judgment call
Hello, the bucket of water's arrived.
The bucket of water?
Daughter, yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. She just popped in very, 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 very briefly, but she was told her mother's there going, be quiet. But I don't mind.
No, I don't mind it. Sure, nobody minds.
24. Yeah, there's actually not enough room anyway. By the time you're starting to take profit, there's not enough room to try and get into a trade anyway. Even if you did want it, even if we're using that high there, it's a little bit dangerous. I don't think there's anything you could actually do there. Even if you wanted to, it looks pretty good for downside, and actually it does look pretty good for a decent move downside. But as I say, you're gonna be really falling, and to use the analogy, climbing the wall of worry. It hopefully makes the point without it being in the right direction. But that's going to be tricky regardless. But it does look okay. There is a hint of a setup for downside there. But as I say, I'm going to sit on the sidelines. But let me give you back the screen, mate, and let me know what you've got.
Okay, this is going to be a recurring theme, of course, on Euro, Pound, and Aussie. So, like I said before, we're below this first support level of the day. Until we get back above it, or even look like getting back above it, I won't choose to take this trade. But what I do see clearly is a big tweezer bottom sitting here. But is it the bottom? And what is it the bottom of? Is the question I ask myself. A small retracement, but that's interesting. It's also a retest of this little trend line I've got going on through here. So this may well be the line in the sand today for euro dollar. May well be. If it breaks below here, then I think there's some downside. But if it can hold here on this level, tomorrow you may well be looking at a new high. That's how it looks to me. So that's probably the key level of the day, I would have thought, on euro dollar. For that reason, I'd be willing to take a long. And the way I would do that is on this 30-minute chart with that tweezer bottom sitting there, here and here. If I got a higher low in this vicinity, I think that would be worth a little trade. You'd want to take profit here, and you probably want to exit here. So it's not a trend trade in any way, shape, or form. But I think there's definitely a take profit level here, and a take all profit here. So if that does set up, I don't think that's a bad position to hold on euro dollar long. Cable. Well, first things first, we've got to get a reversal scenario. That isn't there for me at the moment, and certainly not there for me at the moment. So we've got a bottom here. We've got to bottom out somewhere. Give me a double bottom, or later on, much later on, an inverted head and shoulders, something of that nature. Bullish engulfing bar, morning star, whatever. I'd have to see one of those scenarios first, and then look for a higher low, because it's counter trend.
Yeah.
It's not counter trend. It's counter momentum. Trend is long, according to me.
The trend is long. Well, the longer term trend is still to the upside, isn't it?
Well, that's certainly upside. Let's say the intermediate trend is bullish.
Yeah.
So that could yet be a retracement on this, of course. So it's in that zone where we're not real sure at this point. But pardon me, nothing changes, because I still need to see that particular scenario before I look to trade it. The Aussie is a little bit easier, very, very much like the euro. In fact, probably better than the euro. And the reason I say that is because we're bang on DS1, which is nice. We do have a little tweezer bottom sitting there. We do have an untested area up here, which I like. And it wouldn't take much to convince me to trade this long at all, to be absolutely fair. Let me have a look at the range. Yeah, we've broken the bottom of it. That's a little bit disturbing. But we're also at a fairly strong support level. So yeah, okay. It wouldn't take much to convince me to go long here, I can assure you. But obviously, I need a setup.
Yeah.
And
you like the price?
Setup, yeah, well, I love the price. Price is good. Tweezer bottom, again, exactly the same as the euro. Any higher low here is very, very interesting. And I think there's room for profit probably before these levels. And there's a target dead set above you, there. That's a clear target. So it's exactly the same as the euro. If these do reverse their early momentum today, and that's entirely likely, I can assure you, then there's two trades there that you can possibly look at: the euro and the Aussie, both long, both looking for a higher low.
Right.
So that's where I'm at, mate.
Cool, mate. Okay. Well, let's wrap up then for the day and the week, and we'll come back and fight again next week. Back on Monday at 7:30 UK. Have a good weekend, mate. And
You too, bud.
yeah, I don't know if you probably won't be trading tomorrow, so see what happens for the rest of the day, and then enjoy your weekend. And I'll see you bright and early on Monday.
I'll be here, mate. Thank you very much indeed to all, and we'll see you all. Have a good weekend as well. See you later.